please rise as we begin with the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Do a roll call vote to determine if there's a quorum. Anita Payne.
Here.
Bobby Brooks.
Here.
John Spencer.
Here.
Chuck Deaton.
Here.
Derek Combs is also present. Do we have a quorum? Everyone was provided a copy of the minutes from the September 3rd, 2024 meeting. Ask for a motion to approve the minutes.
So moved.
I'll second.
Got a motion from John Spencer and a second by Anita Payne. Is there any further discussion or questions? Ask for a vote to approve. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. Moving on to presentations, we have Chris Jackson here with Dan Christianity Excavating to give us an update on the Shadow Lake project. Welcome, Chris.
Thank you, sir.
So we're passing around what I think is a huge deal. So we've been, I think we've kind of, Donna's been here giving you all some updates and stuff, but reality is that we broke ground on 498,000 and a 280,000 square foot building, $80 million investment in two of our parcels there for warehouse space / lease space for businesses coming in. The way I understand it is they are in negotiations with leasees right now, but this what I passed out is their marketing packet, what they're sending out to potential companies and vendors, and it seems like they're having a lot of good interest in getting tenants for the buildings. Obviously, we're just in the beginning stages. We're moving dirt for both these buildings right now. So this is lots 7 and 8 on our plat. So this will be our third lot basically. So we did our construction of our new headquarters and maintenance facility, and now this is the next 2 lots there along Shadow Lake Drive. I am in final negotiations on a, you flip to this page that Chuck is on. I am in final negotiations, you can hold it up there. So right here is our headquarters. And then, so building A and building B are under construction now. We're moving the dirt for them. Yep. This lot back here, closest to High Jackson, we are in negotiations on it on another large industrial building. So nothing finalized or whatnot. We've got a down payment on it and stuff. So it sounds like it's gaining some traction, but we'll see how everything shakes out. So lots of interest, working on other options on other pieces too. So the market seems very strong. This should total our $20 million investment there in our headquarters, and then this is an $80 million investment from U.S. Capital in these 2 buildings. So it should be right at $100 million already invested in Shadow Lake Business Park with the construction of these 2 buildings. So real excited to be able to bring that property tax value back to the city. Your all's willingness to help invest in our development. The project would never have been possible without it. Development never would have moved forward. So just wanted to say thank you so much for the redevelopment team to do that. I see lots and lots more opportunity out here coming that we're going to be able to amplify that and continue to generate good revenue for the city. So we're already talking about sewer upgrades and stuff like that too, because we have lots of different things that we're working toward out there, because there's a lot going on, and should be generating a lot of good tax revenue for the city. So should be able to help generate traffic, to help generate those restaurants, shops out in the front. We're saving that property as we see stuff maturing across the street, the Cheesecake Factory, CTDI, all those jobs. It's just going to help generate interest and generate people, brilliant people reaching out, wanting to do stuff. But we're kind of sitting tight to it, make sure we got a good cohesive plan. So we work, and actually Chuck's working on the railroad crossing there for his project. They're getting that finalized. And just as part of conversation, we're working with River Ridge, doing the interchange there for the new Jim Lewis Road, which we're trying to get that completed in between the raindrops with all the drainage stuff in the middle there. And then we're looking at stoplights going in December and January. So we're hoping to have the intersections open in February and March, where we can get all the traffic to be routed through Christianity Parkway instead of going into there. So once that is all done and open, then we will have to remove I think you all signed the agreement to remove the other crossing down there. But there is lots of traffic stuff coming through the industrial park now with the school traffic and all that. So we're taking extra precautions to make sure we can keep all of our traffic and be careful. So we're working with the school system trying to redirect some of that traffic to get it coming a different direction. Anyway, that's pretty much all I got. Everything's positive there. Anybody got any questions for me? What's going on in Shadow Lake?
Well, I just like how you said increased tax revenue about 5 or 6 times, so you definitely said the right words there. And more traffic for restaurants because people are craving those, so you definitely have the presentation down pat, so thank you, Chris.
Yeah, anything
I
else?
know we talked a little bit about the school stuff, but I do appreciate y'all going ahead and talking to them because that means a lot. And middle school busy and more car riders every day, and so talking to them, I mean, it's gonna mean a lot going right there.
Yeah, we're trying to get some traffic redirected there with them, and we've been working with them, trying to figure out a plan here to get that redirected, because we do have several months here of traffic here to deal with, because it is congested, so.
I will say you guys work late because as I'm either at Mitchell or over at those storage units, I see you guys coming in like 7:30, 8 o'clock, and I'm thinking, oh man, they worked up, they work hard hours, so.
Yeah, we work second shift too.
Yeah, there you
The
go.
shop works second. Any other questions?
Thank you, Chris.
Thank you, Chris.
Appreciate it.
That concludes our presentations for this evening. Moving on to claims. Provide a copy of the claims from the previous month. Ask for a motion to approve.
I'll make a motion.
Motion by Chuck Eaton. Is there a second?
A second.
Second by Bobby. Is there any further discussion? Ask for a vote to approve. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. There's no one signed up for public comment. Moving on to the consultant report with the Wheatley Group.
I sent out the report. This one was a little bit larger. I had some of the things that Chris sent out that we found on the website, but also then some pictures of the Greenway Park Bank Stabilization Project. I'll try to do that if you all want me to. In the future, I don't always have good graphics like that. So, but if that's helpful to you or you'd like to see that stuff, I'll continue to do it. If you don't, then I won't have to.
I love it. And I just want to ask you, have there been any problems with the Greenway Park Bank Stabilization wall?
To my knowledge, there have not been any, physical issues since it's been constructed.
Has it been tested at all? Have we had any rain since then?
I've heard that we had a little bit of rain here.
This is an inside joke, just so you know.
Yes, it is. There were some public comments about the way that was being constructed and questioning the way that was being constructed, but just so you all know, it was properly permitted, and the permit states how that was going to be constructed. I think others would have probably liked it to have been constructed, that bank done a different way, but they were required to use natural materials, and so that's why we have what we have. Looks nice. To add to that, I didn't have this in the other report, so it's an update from what I gave you late last week. The rock wall is completed and has been approved by Tony. Tony Jackson's been out there looking at that, as well as HWC. And then moving forward, there was a discussion about how to landscape it and when to do that. But I heard from Zach Klein, who was in here to give you the plans and specs, that the fence that's up there now, just construction fence, is going to be replaced with native plantings in hopes at the top to prevent people from trying to jump or falling off of that wall into the creek. So the contractor has some funding available still in his budget and is going to give us a landscaping plan that hopefully we can complete this month. So that's the most recent update as of Monday.
Well, I think a lot of people need to understand, when you work in a waterway, you get your permitting and you get a design, that's the way it is. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it, so what they say goes.
And that's pretty much what the response was, and probably a lot, used a lot more words than that, but then, and there was someone from Natural Conservation Resources reached out to the city and asked to pay a permit, because they didn't have it on file, but, which is not necessarily unusual. Usually they will get it,
Right.
but sometimes they don't, so someone had reached out to them. So they reached out to the city, we provided them with the permit, and everything was fine.
So Jill, in light of this though, were there some slight changes in the way opportunities were posted for people to bid on things?
Yes, and so that's a piece of it, I guess I was trying to forget, John. And then there was also, along with how it was constructed, there was also a discussion of why everyone didn't know about it. It's not the city's responsibility, the Redevelopment Commission's responsibility to reach out to any known bidder that we might, and in this instance, someone, we might not even know that they do that kind of work. But that was a concern that there wasn't any outreach about it. So moving forward, and like we are doing right now with the demo of this, the bid specs and such will be posted on the redevelopment website. So if you look on the redevelopment website today, you will see the Short Street demo bid specs on there. So anybody that wants to check the website or listen to the meetings has an equal opportunity, as well as they have to be advertised in the newspaper. Whenever you do competitive sealed bids, it has to be advertised at least twice, within certain time periods. So that advertisement for Short Street went out today. Those same advertisements went out for Greenway Park. So, people have an opportunity to either, and I don't want to put Chris on the spot, he can shake his head or whatever, but he's a contractor. There are ways that he knows about bids other than me calling him and saying, hey, Chris, we're going to bid this job. So, those are the things that we offered some information to the people as well to say, these are some things you can do to make sure that you're notified of these jobs.
Sometimes spoon feeding is just necessary.
Yes, and but that's why, one of the reasons that if you go to the redevelopment website, you will see the Short Street demo bids on there. And the ad actually directs people to that website so they can pull down those specs. And that's a smaller job and a smaller I say a smaller document, I think it's 193 pages still. But it's a smaller document than a larger job. So those are things that we've tried to do, at least to make it accessible.
Thank you, Jill, appreciate it.
Thank you for reminding me of that. I mean that.
I'm sure
I
you
mean,
love that.
No, I'm glad you did, because I tried to put that out of my mind.
Thank you.
Talk about Short Street a little bit. I'll jump around a minute. As I just said, we've advertised this in the News and Tribune today. It showed up today. It'll be advertised again next Tuesday for the demo of that job. The bids will be due no later than 4 to Clerk Treasurer's Office on November 6th, which is our next Redevelopment Commission meeting. We'll open those bids at the meeting. And then American Structure Point, who is the engineer that we've procured to help us with that, will review the bids in hopes of having an award either later that month. And we'll talk about, once we get those, we can, before we get there, we can talk about what actions the board may need to take on November 6th. But nothing else, and we'll do it the first meeting in December. And then we won't issue a notice to proceed until sometime in January, till we have everything, dismantled from the Christmas, so that we don't interfere with that. And then in my report, I had a schedule, and so January 6th, maybe January 6th when they start, maybe later, and then hope to have demo complete by the middle of February. We want them to get in and get out, weather permitting. So we don't need them to linger. It shouldn't be a job that's gonna take a long time. We also held earlier today a visioning session. As a commission, you nominated, appointed John and Chuck to be a part of this, and so we spent probably about 2 hours this afternoon kind of communicating with the planning team of what goes on the square and how they want to activate that Short Street property. And so I think they had a good understanding about what we wanted. Chuck and John, you please feel free to.
It was a good meeting. I mean, I could only participate in limited fashion because I was Zoom, but you guys did a great job of presenting some options and talking about the different things that we could do there. So I think it was very valuable.
There was a lot of good conversation. I mean, it wasn't a, hey, this is what we want to do, and kind of put our hand down or foot down. It was, we want ideas. We looked at other places that within Indiana and Kentucky that have built places like this, and kind of get a mixture of different ideas and put a couple concepts together and figure out our couple visions of what we want to do. But overall, it was really good. I do think they got a really good idea of what we want. We finished off the meeting that way, so a lot of things being looked at on the square in that general vicinity. So, and I think they talked about that IUS thing that Brian brought
Yeah,
up.
the IU rural engagement where they, they're on the side that doesn't have any buildings adjacent
Market
to
Street.
how we.
They brought that up and how we can incorporate both, and I mean, it really did go well. So I want to thank Jill for putting that together.
And for all of the Charlestown residents to understand, there's a lot of conversation about how can we do something that we believe many people want, something that reflects, their experience from the past and keeps some traditions going. So that was certainly not lost on that conversation today.
Right.
No, I think that was very much emphasized, and I think that team understands, that they're, and so they're gonna present some various options that we can look at. When I accompanied them outside after that, when they were walking around property, I think they walked around a little bit before they came into the meeting, but they hadn't gone around the back.
Okay.
And so during that conversation, they said, we didn't realize there was as much space here as there is. It looks larger than what they had envisioned on the map, and compared that to the site that they were showing us from Huntingburg that's about the same size, and talking about how to situate that because there was quite a bit of traffic noise up there. They were concerned about that and where you place differently. So I think we'll get at least we'll get some ideas from them. I think they'll give us a range of ideas from, I don't want to say extreme, but these are some things you can do, several things that you can choose from.
So is the next step on that, the conceptual?
Yes, the next step, they'll come back with some conceptual items. I would assume that the group will get together again just to look at those, and then also at some point share them with the commission. I think everything that we spoke about today is going to have a pretty big price tag on it if we did everything. So I asked them to please break it down into segments and phases, because I don't know that we can do everything all at once, but there's certain pieces that we can do. And
I will say, there was nothing really brought up that we haven't discussed before this year. I mean, since we've been talking about that property, everything we've discussed was all discussed today, just kind of how we would like to see it laid out. So like I said, I'm pretty excited to see what they do with it.
See if there's anything else in here that I want to highlight. We talked a little bit, I think at the last meeting, or I put in my last report, that the city, as you're aware, the city has to build a new lift station on Highway 62 to remove the one that's adjacent to Forest Edge. That will be in conflict with that development, along with the new lift station would also accommodate the growth that needs to happen or is happening here in Charlestown. There may be a need for redevelopment to back the financing that the sewer department is looking at the city council would do with some TIF revenues. And so if that's the case, then that will be determined between now and your next meeting. But I know we talked about it, that we may need to use redevelopment to help with that. And redevelopment has actually, committed a little bit of money to help towards that before. So I didn't want you to be caught off guard. If anything's gonna happen, it'll be at your next meeting and we'll let you know. But
They brought it to the city council, and they're gonna talk about it, I think, next week, but it's,
You guys should vote for it to pay all of it. You don't need to pass it on to redevelopment commission.
and
but
I
see,
don't-
I'm 50-50, John, so I like to split it all up.
And at least the conversations that I've been in on,
Good conversation.
no one wants to pass it on
Right.
redevelopment, but redevelopment maybe
Right.
needed to back it. Maybe not required to pay anything, but maybe needed to back it.
Donna's looking at some different ways, so I mean, there's a lot of things in the works right now.
Emotional support, no problem.
It's been a conversation that's been going on for several months. So I think we're about to get to the bottom of it here in the end of it.
I'm in favor of us
Well-
being a guarantor.
We'll know more about the financing once Baker Tilly finalizes its rate study in about 2 weeks.
Yep.
So.
That was part of it too.
So I just wanted to give you, I would feel better if I said that out loud to you all, so you didn't look at me next month and say, why are we doing this? The last thing I want to talk to you about, I'll be glad to answer any questions or talk about any other projects, is we discussed at different points in time, this budget that is expenditure that needs to be submitted to the DLGF in accordance with state law, and some discussions with Baker Tilly and another law firm from for a different client that we have, just to kind of compare different things that we've heard. It seems that you can submit anything as basic as, there's no parameters on what to submit. So you could submit something as basic as, we are gonna spend our funds according to our redevelopment plan. You could be that vanilla about it, or you could be as detailed as put every line item and everything that you ever think you're gonna spend. My suggestion is,
Vague, be vague.
well, not that vague, but the way that we segment your cash flows into debt and projects and professional expenses, those
Right.
things that we presented in those categories and just have a dollar amount for those categories. It's my understanding that that also could be amended. I don't know that there's a process to amend it, but that's what my plan is. We do not have to have that approved by the mayor or the city council. We just have to provide it to them. And in speaking with the mayor, she felt like that, if that's what you all wanted to do, that would be fine. You could approve it, and we would just make sure that the council and she had a copy of what it was before it was submitted. So if you guys are okay with that plan, then I'll have something ready for you by your November meeting.
I mean, I think it makes sense, don't you?
And if you want to go more basic, we certainly can. I don't know the advantage to you going to being more detailed than that, because as you all know, and some of you, Chuck's been on this almost a year now, things change, things come up, and so I don't know that it's to your advantage to put in more detail than that.
Flexibility is good, yeah. So on your report, I have one question. No desire to go down a rabbit hole, no desire for too much detail. However, one thing that's been on the agenda for a year or more has been the industrial park. And so the only thing I'm asking you about is
You mean the fire
the fire
suppression?
suppression pump house at the industrial park. Just tell us generally where that is now, as far as who's looking at it. What organizational or governmental body is looking at that right now?
To my knowledge, John, and I haven't been involved in all the conversations, I've not been involved in any of the meetings between the organizations, is that there's conversations between the city, Indiana American Water, and Mitchell Plastics, and possibly the Indiana Utility Regulatory Commission.
That's kind of what I wanted to bring up, just so that people understand that there is an outside body looking
Yes.
at that, trying to evaluate where it stands. So
Yes.
I feel like that, having not said anything,
Yes.
It may not be obvious what's going on, but there is some work going on there trying to resolve the situations.
And I think
That's
that's
really-
probably all we can say.
Exactly,
Because-
that's all I
And
wanted to
again, I haven't been in those, maybe that's on purpose, I don't know, but, you know, that's.
Yeah,
okay.
given that it's currently pending before the IURC, yeah, I would discourage
Mhm.
talking about it too much, but it is still currently pending.
And that's okay for people to know that,
Yes.
nothing else. Yeah.
Yes,
Thanks, Joe.
you're welcome. Does anyone have any other questions?
Good report, by the way, as always, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Joe. We don't have any old business, moving on to new business. Is there any further discussion, new discussion anyone has? Hear no new discussion. Next meeting is scheduled for November 6, 2024. Ask for a motion to adjourn.
I'll make that motion.
All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Please sign the page register.